Hi, I'm Shane.
And I'm Miranda. We're cheeky. Join us as we undertake our biggest road trip to date, 5 months around Australia in a 4-wheel drive.
After a year of closed borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were finally able to travel from New Zealand to our closest neighbour, my home country of Australia.
Each episode will take you to a different region in this diverse continent and get up close to its unique wildlife, camping in the outback and Aussie bush.
If you ever wanted to explore Australia, this series is for you. In this episode, we head south of Perth to the historic city of Fremantle, staying in an old World Heritage listed prison. We learn about its colonial and maritime history before heading to Rottnest Island, the home of the Quokka.
Here we get up close to these adorable marsupials and try to land ourselves a Quokka Selfie before exploring the pristine island by bike.
After we follow the coast down to the Margaret River area, exploring hidden underground caves and forests home to some of the biggest trees in the world.
We visit the stunning southern coast before heading inland. Join us on Global Travel Stories.
In our previous episode, we travelled from Kalbarri National Park to Perth via Lezua National Park and the Pinnacles Desert. So we're here in the town of Fremantle, just south of Perth. We're staying in this really funky hostel. It's the YHA hostel, and it's actually a part of the old prison, which you can see behind us here. We're going to learn a little more about the old prison tomorrow, but it was built by the convicts, and it's actually the only World Heritage listed building in all of Western Australia, so it'd be pretty cool to check out tomorrow. So interesting stay. We'll be here a couple of days. We'll check out Fremantle. We'll get the markets tomorrow as well. Should be a good time. We're already really impressed with Fremantle. Just walking through town, some of the old buildings feel almost European. And then you come down here by the waterside and you've got all these sandstone convict buildings that almost feel a little bit like Hobart when we were there last year. Chicky was impressed with what?
With the beach.
The beach, yeah. The beach is right here.
Right here. I'm just getting really good vibes from this place.
Yeah.
So.
And on the pier down here as well, it's very sort of like an old sort of marina-like town. It's really beautiful, actually. We're finally here at the Little Creatures Brew House. This is where we came, we set out to come to, so this is what we're doing.
After delicious wood-fire pizzas at the Little Creatures Brewery, we explored the beautiful architecture of this historic city at dusk.
Today is we're heading into the Fremantle markets. We're about to walk in right now, actually, and then after that we are going to the Maritime Museum. In the afternoon we are checking out the old prison in which we are staying, right next to our hostel. We're doing a spooky nighttime torchlight tour, so it should be a good day. Let's check out these markets. Enjoying the market so far?
Yes, I'm struggling to pick what I want to eat.
There's so much
I want
food
to eat
here.
everything.
This is pretty awesome. Into the roundhouse, which is actually the old Fremantle jail, built in 1831, and it's the oldest building in the city. Pretty cool. So it's actually the first public building built in Western Australia, and the jail was to facilitate the growing settlement here. They only originally had 8 cells, but at one stage they had up to 43 people occupying these 8 cells. The prison that we're going to explore later on was built when the convicts arrived in the 1850s, and obviously they needed a larger sort of area to facilitate the growing population and obviously criminals in that growing population.
So I'll just pour some water down there now, and they'll give you an indication of just how deep it is.
13.5 metres, there you go. I would have been able to guess that for sure.
And that's the cell set aside for anybody who's been classified as being a lunatic.
Nice. There you go, Miranda. Jump in. A short walk from the city centre, we found ourselves at the WA Maritime Museum. Alrighty, so we're in the Western Australia Maritime Museum. It's pretty awesome already. There's a seal, Chicky. You love seals.
Opened in 1979, the WA Maritime Museum showcases Western Australia's rich maritime history through its large collection of stories, artifacts, and vessels.
What do you think of the museum, Chicky? That sounds really sarcastic. Hold your breath. So at the world's oldest message in a bottle, and Miranda's about to read it for us.
Der Finder wird ersucht, den darin befindlichen Zettel, nachdem die auf umstehende Seite gewünschten Angaben vervollständigt sind, an die deutsche Seewarte in Hamburg zu senden oder auch an das nächste deutsche Konsulat zur Beführung an jene Behörde abzugeben.
And what's that mean?
I can translate if you want, it's going to take a while.
A quick summary.
Okay, well, whoever finds this should take the letter and give it to the Deutsche Seewarte. I don't know what a Seewarte is, some sort of marine person. Yeah, maybe in Hamburg. Or to the next German Consulate. Consulate, yeah.
So where are we, Miranda?
Shipwrecks Museum.
Yeah, let's go check out some Dutch wrecks. The galleries house hundreds of relics, including Willem de Vlaming's replacement of De Cartog's original plate, the reconstructed hull of the Batavia, wrecked in 1629, and artefacts from many other shipwrecks found along Western Australia's treacherous coast. The WA Shipwrecks Museum is recognised as the foremost maritime archaeology museum in the Southern Hemisphere. The museum is housed in an 1850s era commissariat building and has since been restored to its historic glory. So we have part of the hull of the Batavia, which was a Dutch sea ship from 1629, and it wrecked right off the coast near Geraldton of Western Australia. And this is all the bits and pieces that they were able to recover here, and they didn't actually start the recovery until 1972. So marine archaeologists went down and were able to retrieve some of this, and it's really cool to see. Miranda's ecstatic by the pasta lady.
How much do you like pasta?
This much. So we're heading to the old prison right now, and it's just after dark. We're about to do the torchlight tour. Ooh. It's supposed to be creepy, and it might be suitable with Halloween coming up.
Originally opened in 1855, the Fremantle prison was built as a convict barracks and remained in use until 1991. The prison was a place of hangings, floggings, dramatic convict escapes, and prisoner riots. The tour also included dramatic performances to enhance our understanding of the prisoner's plight.
That toilet buckets were used here at Fremantle Prison every day it was opened for 136 years. From beginning to end until the prison closed in 1991, prisoners were still using toilet buckets in their cells overnight, even in a bigger room. With a bunk bed and a TV and a fan, a radio and 2 prisoners inside, 1 bucket! 1 bucket to share between 2 people!
You say tough. But tough's not going to help you when there's a bucket coming for your face. And a can of mace is not going to help you if you're breaking up a fight on the first floor. Do not get taken out into the yard. If you're dragged out into the yard, you're not coming back.
In July 2010, the Fremantle prison was granted World Heritage status as it represented the last and most authentic and intact of the British convict establishments in Australia.
A little bit of peace and quiet, huh? But no, making a racket. What do you got here tonight? What an evil bunch you brought in here. Look at this. We got murderers, we got thieves. You can stand close to that door over there. Likely to anything to jump out of there. I don't trust that bloke. Trust me though! I'm an honest man. I like the judge that put me away.
In 1964, the last hanging of the Fremantle prison was carried out for a man named Eric Edgar Cook, a convicted serial killer who was finally caught after his 3 to 4 year reign of terror in the suburbs of Perth. This prison holds a dark history involving the forced migration of convicts, isolation, punishment, and pain. However, this prison also represents reflection and progression to penal reform, which allowed convicts to then build unprecedented lives for themselves. We're heading today.
Rottnest Island.
This has been one of Miranda's number 1 things that she's wanted to do this whole trip. It's because of this little thing called a Quokka. She wants to play a game called Quokka Selfie. No, not really. She's come to see the cuteness of this small marsupial. I'm going to do a nice cycle around the island as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Within moments of disembarking from the ferry, we stopped at a nearby bakery and were confronted with our very first Quokkas. We were immediately enamored by how cute they are.
Alrighty, so now we've got our tent. This is the second time we've used this bad boy on the whole trip. Finally getting our use out of it after carrying it all the way from New Zealand. Alrighty, so we've set up our tents and now we're going to get our bikes, but first we need to do something that Miranda's put on the top of her list of things to do in Australia. What is that, Miranda?
You take a Quokka selfie.
The Quokka Selfie, the infamous Quokka Selfie, which has taken the world by storm in recent years. It's become a bit of a fashionable thing to do when you come over here. These little cute marsupials have these adorable little faces that always seem to be smiling, and it's just become a trend to get the Quokka Selfie. So we're going to do that right now. The Quokka is a marsupial famous for its friendly demeanour and apparent smile, earning them the title of the happiest animals on Earth. Quokkas are curious, peaceful and non-territorial creatures, which make them very easily approachable. Quokkas are part of the macropod family, making them related to the kangaroo. They used to be abundant throughout southwestern Australia, however due to the introduction of predators, they are now mainly found on islands where these predators have not been introduced. Chicky, are you ready to go for a bike ride?
To start our journey, we cruised along the southern coast of the island and were taken immediately by its spectacular beaches. Its natural beauty is extremely undersold, usually downplayed to the novelty of its adorable marsupial inhabitants.
Noticing people relaxing on these pristine beaches, we could only wish we had arranged an extra day on the island so that we could do the same. What do you think, honey?
Stunning. I'm so impressed.
Alrighty, how's the ride so far?
Oh my god, just so beautiful.
Excellent. We're down here at West End. We've pretty much done half the ride. They did estimate 5 to 7 hours. I'm not sure why or where they got that estimate from. It's been about an hour and a half and we're halfway. So anyway, we're about to walk down to a New Zealand fur seal colony. So we're pretty keen to check that out.
Yeah.
Woo. Oh, and we got ourselves some drinks too.
Ice Chucky.
A mocky.
After a short stroll, we came across some of the island's native king skinks, a common sight on Rottnest. Also, a New Zealand fur seal frolicking in the water. These seals are endemic to New Zealand and Australia.
Seal doing, Miranda?
It was flipper sailing.
That's what they call it.
WA is fortunate to host a healthy population of fur seals, as their numbers were decimated to the brink of extinction in the early 1800s due to hunting by sealers.
Nearby, we took a walk to Cape Fleming, the westernmost point of Rottnest Island. There is no solid landmass between this point and Madagascar, 6,436 kilometers away. The island itself was named by Dutch sea captain Willem de Vlaming in 1696, who called the island Rottnest, meaning rat's nest, after its Quokka population. So there we go, Cape Fleming, the westernmost point of Rottnest Island. Gonna head back now?
Yeah, ready to head back on the bikes? We returned via the northern coast of the island, passing several quieter beaches along the way, hurrying to ensure that we returned our bikes before the rental shop closed in the afternoon.
Almost there, Chicky! Woo.
2.5k.
After a big day of exploration, it was time for a celebratory drink at the settlement before hanging out with our new ferry friends one last time. Cheers. It's actually really hard to get a Quokka selfie. Getting hungry?
Yeah, I want some Quokka.
Miranda, it's free outside.
I know. I want this so much.
So what did you think of the Quokkas, Chicky?
The cutest, most adorable animals.
They're pretty cute. They tend to hang a little bit more around the settlement, the main part of town, and they've really grown used to human beings. And part of the reason why they're not so frightened is because they don't actually have any natural predators here on the island. So they tend to just sort of not shy away, and they kind of ignore you a bit, which, you know, you see all these selfie pictures, and we tried to get our selfies, but it was a lot harder than it looks. Yeah, so all those people on Instagram and Facebook getting those Quokka selfies, they've probably spent a lot of time trying to
get them to look at the camera.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they'll just look at you and like be really curious about you. It's
or
like,
they start moving away or hopping away. They just sort of seem disturbed or perturbed. But yeah, we're gonna head off to camp now and chill out. We're gonna do a barbecue for the evening and maybe just relax for the afternoon.
Later that night, we were woken in our tent by a couple of intruders.
You guys think you're subtle, eh? Think you're gonna get away with something? There's no food. The quokkies. So we've just left Rottnest Island. We had an amazing time. We are now making our way through Fremantle and heading down south to the Margaret River. You might look around and see that we're in a cemetery right now, and the reason why we're in a cemetery is because we're going to go to the grave of Bon Scott, the original singer from AC/DC. And Bon has been a key feature of our Australian road trip playlist, so we thought we might go and pay tribute to him and pay our respects. Bon Scott was a Scottish-born Australian singer and songwriter who grew up in Fremantle. He is best known for being the lead vocalist and lyricist of the Australian hard rock band AC/DC. When Bon passed in 1980 at the age of 33, his ashes were buried in Fremantle Cemetery, where his grave is said to be the most visited grave in Australia. On the Busselton jetty, which is the actual longest timber pile jetty in the southern hemisphere. It's 1.84 kilometers long. It is massive. We're gonna go for a little bit of a walk along it.
The jetty's construction commenced in 1864, and the first section was opened in 1865. The jetty was extended numerous times until the 1960s.
Biggest jetty you've ever seen? So up there is Cape Naturalista. Hey. Where are we?
We're at Big Valley Campsite.
Which is in?
The Margaret River region.
You got it. Oh, I got a ring-neck parrot over there. All right, Miranda, where are we right now?
We're at a place called the Berry Farm, which is the #1 rated place in TripAdvisor in the Margaret River region.
Yeah, it's a winery, and also they have a nice little cafe here as well, which is cool. Beautiful flowers. We've passed so many beautiful wildflowers on the way here.
Yeah.
And Miranda's excited about potentially seeing a particular type of bird.
A fairy wren, particularly the Splendid Fairy Wren, which are like these really tiny purple adorable birds that I really want to see. So apparently they have them in abundance here, so we'll see.
So as you can see, it's really raining. We haven't had rain like this since Alice Springs, which is quite a while. We've got a busy day today. We're heading off to one of the caves called the Lake Cave, hopefully anyway, and then Hamlin Bay, and then down to a place called Denmark, where we're going to stop at, what's the name of the tree?
Gloucester tree.
The Gloucester tree. She can't pronounce it. I saw some chai lattes and some carrot cake. Miranda's excited. Why are you excited?
We saw 3 Splendid Fairy Wrens.
There you go.
Oh, and I saw a red wattlebird.
Red wattlebird. The habitat of the Splendid Fairy Wren ranges from forest to dry scrub, generally with ample vegetation for shelter. Only the breeding males are blue and black in colour, while non-breeding males, females and juveniles are brown and grey in colour. Our fairy wren was accompanied by a few silver eyes, wanting to get in on the scones with jam and cream left out for them. This stuff here is absolutely delicious. Dark muscat fortified wine from Berry Farms. This is going to be for dessert for the next few nights, at least. We spotted a few western rosellas grazing on the lawn. Miranda's new friend. Alright, Miranda, where are we?
We're at Lake Cave.
Nice. This is the Lake Cave here, right?
No.
This is actually pretty cool for like a national park station, visitor center. This is just a display for those people watching that are a little bit confused about what we're doing. We're actually going into the real caves shortly.
The many caves of the area are home to ancient fossil remains of long-extinct Australian megafauna. Many of them were marsupials, including giant kangaroos, wombats, as well as the marsupial lion. There were also signs of huge ancient snakes, lizards, and birds.
In 1867, Frances Bussell discovered the Lake Cave entrance while out searching for cattle. Frances reported the discovery to her family at the time. However, it was 30 years later that her brother John Bussell and others finally refound the entrance and entered the cave. They roped themselves 15 metres down the limestone wall of the huge hollow.
Lake Cave is a stunning limestone cave, part of the Llewellyn Naturalist Cave System. Inside the cave, crystal formations grow from the cave roof, while the massive suspended table formation hangs from the ceiling, creating a perfect picture as it mirrors the permanent lake.
So this stream originates from a place called Minda Plains, and that's 5 kilometres to the east. So we did some dye testing, and we found out it takes 5 years to flow from Minda Plains to the entrance of Lake Cave, just a little bit back, that we'll go to it'll keep flowing from the east out to the west, so another 2.5 kilometres, and you'll end up at Conto Springs, where it will disperse out into the ocean. And columns, we get 2 big columns on our table, and then the water still percolating through, it'll flow on the outside and disperse onto the floor, and you get what we call flowstone here. But this part is the original cave floor, you can see? That would have extended right to the front of the cave, across to this ledge, all the way across to the back of the cave, and across to our boardwalk. So we would have been able to walk on this part a long, long time ago, but as the water flows from east to west, it's mildly acidic, like a mild cup of tea, I guess, and very good at taking away little bits of limestone each time. So little particles such as soil, iron in the soil, plant matter, they come down through the rain and through the limestone and leave their little particles behind and stay in the calcite. So stalactites, the water flows on the outside and straws through the middle. A little bit different process.
So that was pretty spectacular. We always love exploring cave systems, and we're so glad that we could squeeze this one in, and we've got a few more on the rest of the trip, so looking forward to seeing some of those as well. We've kind of changed a few of our plans. We're going to stay at a place called Shannon National Park, but the guys here said that there's some great wildflowers at the moment, so we're going to explore some of those wildflowers on the way. Located along the Cape to Cape track from Cape Leeuwin to Cape Naturalista, Hamelin Bay was named after French explorer Jacques Félix Emmanuel Hamelin, who sailed through the area in 1801. So we're here at Hamelin Bay, and it's renowned for massive stingrays. Keeping an eye out, seeing what we can find.
Large numbers of giant stingrays frequent Hamelin Bay to forage for buried mollusks and crustaceans. On calm days, they can be seen feeding in the shallows around the jetty pylons along the beach.
So we've just been driving along the Karri Forest Explorer. These big giant trees that you see up here are actually karri trees, and there is one tree in particular that we've come here to see, the famous Gloucester tree, as you can see right there. What makes the Gloucester tree famous? It has its own little staples that have gone into the side of the tree, which you can climb. It looks dodgy as hell. Wow, there is like really nothing there to stop you from falling. As a kid, I used to love climbing trees, and I'm not even halfway up yet, and I'm thinking about how the hell am I going to get down from here? God, it's steep. At 58 metres in height, the Gloucester tree is the world's second tallest fire lookout tree. Established in 1947, the Gloucester tree was first tested by forester Jack Watson, who after 6 hours climbed the tree using climbing boots and a belt, which can now be climbed via 153 spikes. When they say don't look down, they really mean it. Oh my God, I'm still shaking. That was insane. I still have to get down, obviously, but I made it. Woo! Yeah, I'm up the top. That is the highest ladder I've ever had to climb. Hopefully ever will. Oh. All right, now I have to go down. It's the fun part. Only 20% of visitors climb to the top of the tree. Most make it only part of the way before turning back. Alrighty, there we go, the Gloucester tree. My legs are still kind of shaking. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do that, and then I sort of just started and I was like, oh, I'm not going to stop. And then about 2/3 of the way up, I'm like, oh crap, what am I doing? It's really cool, 58 meters, apparently. That's massive. Really, really cool. And these trees are just ginormous everywhere. So we're going to our campsite right now, Shannon National Park, which is pretty close by.
We just left the lovely Shannon campground at Shannon National Park, and now we're heading to Denmark, but not the country in Europe. There's one in Western Australia, and we're going there to see the famous Greens Pool and Elephant Rocks before heading to Albany, which has quite a few sights to see, the Gap and the Natural Bridge. Maybe going for a walk today, depending on timings. And then we're heading to Parangurup National Park, where we'll be staying for tonight.
So we're at the Valley of the Giants treetop walk. Normally they do guided tours around this time, but because of the weather, they're actually not doing the guided tours this morning. Instead, we're going to do a free sort of tour indoors, and we might go for a bit of a walk around. And if the weather calms down, we'll do the treetop walk. If not, we'll still get to admire some of these amazing, massive curry trees as well. And also, we just read that they have one of the last few remaining mainland populations of quokkas, which is pretty cool. So the rain seems to have stopped for now, which is pretty cool. We're going to do a little bit of a walk around the ground, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to get up into the trees. It's still a little bit wet. We've got a few different types of trees here. We've got the curry trees, which we saw yesterday, and we just found out they're the 3rd tallest species of tree in the world, which is pretty cool. They've also got the tingle trees as well, which have like a sort of stringier bark. You can kind of see it there, and the larger buttress, which is cool. So this is the Ancient Empire walk that we're doing right now. So Grandma Tingle over here, 12 meters in circumference, and she's over 400 years old. It's Granny Tingle. It's a magnificent forest. Some of these tingle trees, hollowed out, burnt out. Some of these tingle trees reach up to 75 meters high, and some of the curry trees can be in excess of over 100 meters, which is pretty amazing. When we get to Victoria, apparently the mountain ash is the 2nd tallest tree in the world after the Californian redwoods, and the mountain ashes can grow, 120 meters up to they have in the past. So we're at William Bay National Park, just outside of Denmark, Western Australia. As Miranda mentioned earlier, we are not in Europe or Scandinavia. We're checking out 2 sites here. One is called the Greens Pool, which we'll see very shortly, and then also the Elephant Rock around the corner, and then we'll make our way on to Albany. Not New York, right, Chicky?
Famous for its turquoise waters and granite boulders, William Bay, named after British Arctic explorer William Edward Parry, was declared a national park in 1971.
Not a bad spot for our lunch break right here at Elephant Rock. If it was only just a little bit warmer, I think we'd jump in.
Absolutely.
But for now, we'll just watch.
So we've arrived in Albany and now we're heading to a place called the Gap and Natural Bridge.
Whoa, that is really cool. Look at that. The type of rock we have here is a little bit different to what we've been seeing with the limestone and the sandstone. This is called granite. It's very high in silica and other minerals. Gives it this kind of like pinkish look, which is really cool. It's crazy. Almost feel nervous just looking down. Feel like swimming, Miranda?
From Albany, we made our way north to the Parongarup National Park, where we took a chill day at Parongarup Range Tourist Park while we waited for the weather to clear.
Coming up in the next episode, we explore the granite boulders of Parongarup National Park before heading to the Stirling Ranges for one of Australia's best day hikes.
Heading east, we visit the Fitzgerald River region during peak wildflower season.
We head back to the southern coast to explore the granite landscape and some of the most beautiful beaches we have ever experienced around the Cape Le Grand National Park and Esperance.
From there, we cross the limestone expanse of the Nullarbor Plains into South Australia.
We continue along the Great Australian Bight to Seduna, where we get into the water with some very playful sea lions and dolphins.
Join us on Global Travel Stories. At Global Travel Stories, we want to hear what you'd like to see more of. Please leave a comment below and remember to like and subscribe for our big adventures coming soon.